Hi, everybody. Peter Greenberg here for this Friday, September 23rd, coming to you from London for our global travel update. 4 days after the funeral for the Queen, I'm here to report for you that she is still very much alive if you believe in the power of merchandising and branding. As you know, she was an iconic brand ambassador and chief revenue generator for the British monarchy in terms of travel and tourism. And even in death, she maintains that position. I have no tourist items to show you that I bought today, but one of my producers is so obsessed with the monarchy that I cannot return to the United States without at least some ceramic plates of corgis and other memorabilia. So I guess I have to go shopping tomorrow. More importantly, though, London is completely full of Americans. Talk about a tourist driver. Every hotel is full. They're getting outrageously high rates, about 3 times their normal rate. Americans have come over for this to basically acknowledge, I won't say celebrate, but acknowledge the passing of the Queen and to enjoy the city and enjoy the United Kingdom, which they are doing. We'll have more on that later on. Lots of stuff to talk about in the news. You know exactly how to email me and send those messages in. We'll get to them. We've got some fun photos to show you today. This will be our Throwback Friday, if you want to call it that. Delta Airlines today announcing for next year, they're wasting no time, 9 new transatlantic routes. They're following United's lead. Right now, United Airlines is the largest transatlantic carrier in the world, more than Delta and American combined, but Delta's now adding 9 more routes. So next year is going to be one crazy struggle and chaotic moment over the North Atlantic, as everybody competes for that. Now, a report that I just did this morning here from London for CBS, the update on disruptive, unruly, and downright violent passengers. You'll see that online you'll see it on my website. We'll let you see the piece I did this morning. There were over 6,000 cases of unruly, disruptive, or downright violent passengers last year, but let's do the numbers. Of those 6,000 plus cases, only 673 were referred for investigation, and of the 673 that were referred to investigators, only about 470 resulted in at least some proposed, emphasis on the word proposed, enforcement action. That's less than 10%. You will see that under federal law, they can propose fines of up to $37,000 per incident for disobeying the orders of a flight crew. That is a violation of federal law. We've seen very few fines in that region, and we've seen very few fines, again, the word proposed, that were ever truly enforced. Now, we have some jail time for some people, but we're talking less than a dozen out of 6,000. One proposed fine, and I say again, proposed, I don't think it was enforced, was over $80,000. Most of the cases that go to court will involve not just fines, but restitution. And the restitution comes into areas like if the plane had to divert, the amount of fuel it cost, the amount of crew time that was lost, the amount of misconnected passengers and bags, et cetera, et cetera. And those can be very excessive, in some cases higher than the fines themselves. However, let's be honest, the number of those cases is unbelievably small, considering how many people acted out on planes, in which, of course, alcohol was a big part. Now, having said that, you may remember Delta Airlines, American, United, Alaska Airlines, so many others made some public announcements that they were putting people on a no-fly list if they misbehaved. In some cases, they're going to ban them for life. Well, did that really happen? Actually, it didn't. With exceedingly few exceptions, Delta, American, and United, and Alaska have quietly invited them back if they promise not to do it again. Crazy, huh? Well, the reason for that probably starts with an R, ends with an E. It's called revenue. So now we still haven't solved the problem, have we? There's a reason why the airlines still carry huge plastic zip tie handcuffs so they can lash you to the seat. I'm still a big fan of the NFL fourth quarter rule at airports. That is, and you tie it to the time printed on your boarding pass. No airport retail establishment can serve you alcohol within 45 minutes of the boarding time stamped on your boarding pass. It's a very easy solution to the problem, short of putting breathalyzers at jetways and short of putting, armed officers on the plane. So let's hope somebody comes to their senses. Talk some sense into the retailers too, because most of these cases where alcohol was involved, the people got tanked at the airport and then boarded the plane already smashed. This is unacceptable. All right, let's continue to move on. Now, very interesting stories, and we've been following this. Airfares are continuing to go down. That's inevitable as we get into the fourth quarter, and forward-looking bookings are still soft, with one exception. That's Thanksgiving, where the airfares today are up 21% above 2019 and over 43% more than last year. So there are no surprises here. We all know when Thanksgiving is. We know the dreaded day of Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So for every day, if you still want to go to that obligatory dysfunctional family get-together known as Thanksgiving, for every day you procrastinate and not buy that airfare, the fares will go up. And if you still want to go, you don't want to travel on that Wednesday, go a week before, on the Thursday or Friday before Thanksgiving, take the rest of that week off, but be really smart. You know when you want to come home? On that early Friday morning flight directly after Thanksgiving. When everybody else is trapped in lines at the mall for Black Friday, you get to come home. The weekend becomes yours again, and you can watch as much bad football as you want. Okay, now, while the airfares are dropping, hotel rates are not. Now, why is that? It's because business travel is coming back. Consider this. Last month, August, corporate travel bookings were up 73% over July. And if you look at the figures between now and November 19th, those bookings are 6 times more than they were last year. That's huge. That's what's filling the hotels. So be aware of that. One other sort of a sad note about what's happened in the world, especially in the United States. One of the side products of the pandemic, as people drove more in their cars, is the number of accidents involving reckless driving or speeding. In the first quarter of this year, more people died in traffic accidents in the United States than in any first quarter since 2002. Now, some cities reacted quickly. New York City was one of them, by dropping the speed limit down in the city to 25 miles an hour. And in the second quarter, some of those deaths came down. But they're still way up over the last 15 years. And that's sad. I hope people realize that getting in your car doesn't necessarily mean you have to speed to your destination because you didn't want to fly. More sense is needed. But I wanted to share that figure with you as well. And then one other byproduct of the craziness in the airports this summer, the head of the Amsterdam airport just resigned. We already talked about Schiphol and how crazy it was this summer. The head of the Manchester airport here in the United Kingdom, that person's gone. A lot of other heads may roll. Although I will say that when I landed in London 2 days ago, I went through an e-gate with my passport. It was like global service, like global entry in the United States, piece of cake, no line. I actually landed in Gatwick and took the Gatwick Express in. It worked. The gods were with me. Now, of course, I'm flying out, and I'll let you know what happens with that later. All right, now let's go to some of your notes here. I'm going to scroll down here and say hello to everybody. And then we got some really interesting photos to show you to see if you can guess what's going on. Okay. Ingrid wants to know about my opinion on Japan restrictions removed. I think it's a good idea. First of all, they were closed. Then they were only open if you were a member of an escorted tour group of 50 people or more. I had no idea what that meant. Then they dropped it down again, and now individuals can go. I think it's good. So thank you for that. Okay. Patrick's in Hawaii. All right. Hello, Patrick, from the Surf Rider in the Westin Moana Surf Rider, Moana in Hawaii. Okay. Colleen Casey says, have I ever met Krishna Ramanpur? Yes, I have. Okay. Hello for Almendariz. And Chris is saying, have a safe day. You too. Okay, let's keep going. Here we go. Would global entry, this is my friend Melanie. Hello, Melanie. Would global entry be necessary for a trip to New Zealand? Well, it's global entry not for the trip to New Zealand, it's global entry for the trip back from New Zealand. You should apply for global entry even if you travel only once or twice a year. Nobody wants to take an 11-hour trip and then stand in line for 2 hours to clear US Customs. Global entry is the one government program I have to give them great credit for. It really works. Get it. And if you get global entry, you also get TSA pre-check as well. Well worth the investment. Okay, here we go. Good morning from Tulsa. Hello, Gene. When would I book an Alaskan cruise for September of 2023? Well, September is a sort of shoulder month for Alaska. That's the end of the Alaska cruise season. So I'd wait a little bit, right? You want to see how it shapes up. Right now, they're probably going to price it higher than they will when they see how more bookings shape up earlier next year. I would probably look to maybe March or April before I book that. Okay, here we go. I'm looking here. Catherine, hi from San Diego. We'll be flying from LAX. Oh, you're going to Canada. Okay. Is Canada still requiring face masks while flying? Yes, they are. And they're also requiring face masks at the airport. Okay, Randy saying hi from Ann Arbor. Cheers from Tucson. It's hot and hazy here in Dubai. Don't we know it? Ciao from San Diego. Hello, Gina. Robert saying I had to wear masks on Emirates. Yep, they're still making you wear them. Good day from Zurich. I was just there 2 weeks ago. Melanie says, what do you mean by send stars? I have no idea what you mean by that. Global entry is for coming back to the United States. And it's the best thing to happen since sliced bread as a government program. Okay, Stephen saying greetings from Kansas City. Do you have your fish and chips ready for your beloved UW-Madison? Ohio State kickoff tomorrow. I'm dreading the Ohio State kickoff tomorrow. You know, if you take a look at the Wisconsin football scores for the last 3 weeks, first, they should have beaten Washington State at home, and they didn't. Then they played, I think, New Mexico, and the score was like 66-7. They won. That was the tune-up, easy game for what's going to happen tomorrow. And you know, and I know, they're going to get their you-know-what's kicked in Columbus. They're playing Ohio State. All I can say to the Badgers is, as much as I love you, bye-bye. I mean, it ain't going to be pretty. Okay. Here we go. Good to see you, Joseph. We talk about the wildebeest migration in Kenya. Alan's saying important to have safer driving, but lower speed limits increases congestion and pollution. Well, let's see about the trade-off here, Alan. There may be more congestion, but you get to live to tell the congestion story. All right, Zach says hi from Houston. I used to live in Houston. Ian Levine, oh my God. Hey, Chief. That's the fire chief in Ocean Beach, my buddy. I'll see you next weekend, Ian. Okay, here we go. Debbie says, TSA informed me that I cannot have Nexus and Global entry at the same time. Can this be right? Well, first of all, that's not TSA's deal. That has nothing to do with TSA. It has to do with Customs and Border Protection. I'm not aware of that. I'm going to check that out. Although, if you got global entry, you don't need anything else. Okay. Okay, Colleen says, I just returned to San Francisco from Strasbourg. Any tips on conquering jet lag? Okay, I'm going to give you my tip. I can only tell you, here's my disclaimer, it works for me. I can't say it's going to work for you. Anytime I'm traveling long distance, I just came in and say New York to London, not the world's longest flight, but I did. Obviously, Sydney to LA, longer. Singapore to New York, longest. Here's what I do. If I feel like sleeping on the plane, I sleep on the plane. If I feel like working on the plane, I work on the plane. If I want to watch a movie, I watch a movie. If I'm going to eat, I don't eat the cooked food. As much as fresh fruit as I can, and I cheat with club soda, no alcohol. But then here's the key to beating jet lag. Forget everything else I told you. It's what you do when you land. No matter what you land, what time you land, and whatever time zone you're in, you must stay up until midnight local time. Now, I flew New York to London, I landed at 8 in the morning. So I had to stay up till midnight. What does that mean? No heavy lunch, no napping. If you nap, no one will see you for 3 days, including you. If that means you got to take a long walk, shoot some hoops, do whatever you can. Don't go to sleep until midnight, and you will cycle. And you do the exact same thing when you return. That works for me. Okay. Alan says, how long does it take to get global entry? Well, they've had some major snafus on that. My own producer had to wait, I think, 8 months for an interview. You got to be interviewed for it. But they're now doing interviews at airports when you arrive sometimes. So if you time it right, you can get it done without having to take a separate trip to the airport. Check it out. But you got to get it. Okay, Debbie saying hi from Buffalo. Listening from Uganda. All right. Geraldine, hello from Chicago. Zora saying hi. Zora, I got your email. I'm working on it. Okay. Patty Porter saying hello from Kentucky. Okay. Here we go. Roseanne, hello from Florida, flying to Bergen next August. When do you think I should start looking for flights? Well, that's sort of high season in Bergen. You know what? I would say in January you start looking, not any later. Okay, Joan says, greetings from California. Just curious, these violent passengers, are they mostly American? Are there any statistics? Yes, they are mostly American. I mean, to me, it was surprising. It's almost an equal amount between male and female of the violent passengers. Okay. My point exactly about global entry. She said, I applied for global entry the 1st of July and it's still pending a review. You're lucky. My producer waited 7 or 8 months. July is only 2 months ago. Be patient. Okay. And you're asking, do you know if they need to access your info from one of 3 credit reporting agencies? I have no idea that they would actually check your credit reporting agency. But you know what? It's easy to do that, and it's free. All right. Okay, so Ann Thompson disagrees with my jet lag idea. I told you, it works for me, Ann. Doesn't have to work for you. And then you take a 1-hour nap when you arrive. If you could take a 1-hour nap when you arrive and be okay, good. If I took a 1-hour nap when I arrived, I'd wake up on Tuesday. Okay. Hello from Bhutan. Okay. Here we go. Okay, Lisa says, I noticed ticket prices are still high and want to purchase for next spring. You're way too early. If you want to purchase for next spring, wait till November. Okay. Okay. You're taking the train to Bergen. I love Bergen. Great restaurants in Bergen, by the way. All right. Let's go back up here. Oh, you know what I'm going to do right now? Let's try to, now I can squeeze this down. Let's go to my famous 2 photos I want to share with you. I'm going to punch them up on my screen too. Let's put them up. The question is this, 2 questions here. Actually 3. When was this picture taken? Where was it taken? And if you're a real aviation geek, what plane am I flying? And by the way, it turned into a movie that I produced. And I'll tell you who my chief pilot was in that movie if you guess it. But now, go to the second picture, because there are 2 different planes here. What plane is that? And when was that taken? And where was that taken? All right, 3 questions. When was it taken? Where was that taken? And what planes am I flying? And yes, I flew both planes. So let me know what you think. All right. And some surprises there. I can even tell you who the people are in the photos, and that might surprise you as well. All right? So there you go. Let's keep coming back. All right. Now, the other thing is, when I talk about airfares going down, you've got to be strategic here. They're being led by lower cost airlines, right? So right now, we're seeing JetBlue with fares as low as $39 in some markets, Southwest fares as low as $59 in some markets, and then again, there'll be flash sales. They're not across the board. They'll be in and out in like 3 days, but if you get in there, you can book through next March. So a lot of great savings to be had. Okay? Now, let's see if anybody's guessing. I'm going down here to see if anybody guessed where this was taken. Okay. Colleen says 1986 set of the original Top Gun F-14 Tomcat. Absolutely incorrect on all three. Robert, Victorville in 1988. Also incorrect, although I spent a lot of time in Victorville, the former George Air Force Base. But no, not that one either. Okay, I'm looking to see. Jennifer says, napping will doom you. I agree. Although if you can take a 20-minute nap every day, 2 days after you land somewhere, you'll be fine. Sean Kelly. Yes, Sean, my cousin weighed in. No, you're not allowed to answer this question, Sean, because you know the answer. But you're right. It's an amazing piece of history, especially when I tell everybody who my chief pilot was. Okay. Here we go. Miguel wants to know if I'm planning to write another book in the near future. The answer is yes. I'm working on 3 of them right now. One is about the off season, about the myth of the off season. Another one is probably going to be the sequel to my other book called Don't Go There, My Guide to All the Places in the World That Suck. You heard me. And then the third one is what I've been working on for a number of years now. Hopefully it'll be finished in the next 12 months. And that's, believe it or not, my autobiography. So we'll get you back on that. Okay, any more guesses of where the Barbara thinks it was George Lucas sitting next to me. No, not true. Okay, I'm still waiting to hear. Anybody else want to guess? I'm scrolling up to see. So far, it's not the F-14 Tomcat, not even close. Not George Air Force Base or Victorville. It was not the set of Top Gun. And those are 2 separate planes in both pictures. I flew both of them. There's one. And we'll go to the other one. There you go. All right. Is everybody just giving up? Hold on a second. I'm going to try to scroll up here a little bit. Gina says Chuck Yeager's plane. Nope. Elizabeth says an F-15 in the late 80s. Also incorrect. All right. I'm going to give you another hint. This is probably going to mislead you. Remember, this was not Top Gun, but it was indirectly responsible for Top Gun. How is that for a hint? All right. And it was not Chuck Yeager's plane. So not an F-14, not an F-15. Okay. In the meantime, we'll get to some more questions here. Tracy says we got stranded in the mess in Amsterdam last summer. You gave me some tips, and Delta ended up reimbursing the hotel and gave us each a $1,000 travel credit. So thanks. You're welcome, Tracy. Patty says, is your producer waiting for global entry application to even be reviewed, or waiting 8 months for the interview? Well, my producer waited about 8 months for the interview, and she just had it, I believe, about 10 days ago. So she's got it now. Okay. Another friend of mine watching from Uganda. Alan's saying Bhutan is proposing major fees, $200 a night for eco reasons. What do you think about that and impact on tourism? Well, if you know anything about Bhutan, you know that they are very, very serious about measuring and monitoring and limiting the number of visitors. I don't blame them. I know that basically cuts it off and makes it even more of an elitist experience. But if you talk to their royal family, as I have, they will tell you that they want their people to be happy. They want them not to be invaded by hordes of tourists. So that, first of all, in the old days, they only gave you a 7-day visa. That's it, in and out. Now I believe it's 14, but they limit the number of visas. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Is it any different than what they did in Rwanda with the gorillas? If you want to go see the gorillas at the 9,000 foot level, I think your entrance fee is somewhere about $3,000. But it all goes back to the community, and it's all for a good cause. So it accomplishes two things. Okay. Any more guesses before I tell you? Alan says it was San Diego. Brian says it was Pearl Harbor. All right. All right, here we go. One person got one of them. Stephen Gotch says an F-5 at Nellis Air Force Base. Show the other photo, Anthony. That's the F-5, a two-seater at Nellis Air Force Base. But when was that taken? What was I doing? Right? Anybody else want to guess? All right, I'm just going to have to tell you guys. Let's go back to the first photo. That's me piloting an F-4 Phantom at Nellis Air Force Base in 1979. The man who's standing on the step next to me on the plane ended up commanding the Tactical Air Command and was the chief pilot in Gulf War I. Go to the second photo, please. That's me after flying the F-5, the two-seater. The man to my left was Captain Butch Henkelman, who ended up becoming a pilot for then Continental Airlines. All these guys fought in Gulf War I. And the reason why I'm at Nellis Air Force flying both of those planes was for a story that I wrote and then ended up producing as a movie for CBS, a dramatic movie. It's called Operation Red Flag, the Air Force version of Top Gun. And in fact, my chief pilot for that movie, who flew the chase plane when I was flying, Chuck Yeager. And my crew, when we finished shooting that movie, they went on to shoot Top Gun. Same crew. Sadly, we lost one of them in the making of Top Gun, Art Scholl, who was our stunt pilot, who flew a plane called the Chipmunk. And in fact, Top Gun is dedicated to him in the first movie. But this is and by the way, they still do Top Gun at Nellis Air Force Base over the desert skies of Nevada. It's probably one of the most intense war games ever fought. Many people actually have died in the games because they're so real. That's one of the reasons why I wrote the story. And if you want to see it, it's still available. That movie's still available somewhere. Now here's the biggest piece of trivia. Who starred in the movie? All right. Bill Devane, one of the very famous movies he did, which I loved, is The Great Santini, if anybody ever saw it, and Barry Bostwick. And it really worked out well. And I flew that mission about 5 different times. I did end up flying the F-15 and the F-16, the A-10, the tank killer, of course, the C-130 and the B-52. They all participated in Red Flag. The entire Air Force inventory was there. But the primary jets, the aggressor squadrons, were the F-5s and the F-4s, the Phantoms. Neither the F-5s or the F-4s are flying anymore. They're flying somewhere around the world in other air forces, but not in ours. They may have a couple of them in the Air National Guard. I don't believe it. But anyway, 1979, Nellis Air Force Base right outside of Las Vegas, the F-4 and the F-5. Stephen, you came closest, so congratulations. All right, now let's go to the photo of the week. We're going to punch it up. There it is. Anybody want to tell me where it is? Anybody? Should be an easy one. You know it is. It's the north rim of the Grand Canyon. And Andy Kingsbury took that picture about an hour before it poured rain. Yeah, you can almost see it coming in. And he's right. A lot less people on this side of the canyon. I totally agree. It's a better way in most of the time. And thank you, Andy, for that photo. If you think you've got a photo that qualifies for the photo of the week, you know what to do. Just send it in to me, and we will post it right here on the show. Okay. And okay. Oh, now all the guesses are coming in Grand Canyon, like duh. Okay. Nobody got the planes except one person got one of the planes. But there you go. All right. Some other questions that have been sent in. Gary wants to know, are there any stats we can easily track from a website, like lost bags, missed connections, TSA wait time averages, that would allow us to see if the air travel experience is actually improving? Yeah, there is. The U.S. Department of Transportation every month publishes, and you can get this from the Office of Consumer Affairs, the on-time performance of airlines based on individual flight numbers. That's the coolest one of all, right? How can I have a favorite airline if flight 407 is always late? And that's the one I'm on. So you can get the actual on-time performance percentage based on flight number and route. That's the one I look at all the time because it gives you a great historical pattern. TWA years ago had a flight 849 from New York JFK to LAX, and it was never on time because TWA would wait for all the incoming flights from Europe to connect to take them back to LA. So in the industry, of course, it was known as late 49. We know which flights those are. There was one United flight to Cleveland a couple of years ago that was late 96% of the time. Those are the figures you'll get from the DOT, and they're very helpful to have them. Okay. Patty says, how do you know if the hotel you pick in Paris will stay in your budget when you don't pay until you're there and the exchange rate can change? Okay. Yes, the exchange rate can change. However, there's a way to do it. You can ask, not always they're going to give it to you, but if you really think the dollar is going to get killed, ask to pay in US dollars, right? If you think the dollar is going to be really strong, ask to pay in euros. Now, if that doesn't work, keep in mind that unless you're booking 9 years in advance, the actual fluctuation in